Hello and welcome. In this video, we will learn about modules in Python. Alright. A module is a code library. It is a file containing a set of functions, variables, and classes that we can include in our project. Okay. Up until now, we have been using the functions that came installed or pre-installed or inbuilt while installing the Python software. What are the functions that we have been using? We have been using print function, input function, type function, length function, and a few others, right? All these functions are inbuilt into the Python software that we had installed in the beginning. Now, when we are working on a project, there may be a need to do something extra. While built-in functions are designed for general purpose tasks, modules provide specialized functionalities that go beyond the basic set. When the inbuilt functions are not sufficient for our needs, we go for importing modules. Alright, let me give you an example and explain the concept of modules. Here, let me say num equal to 25. And now, what I want to do is find the square root of this number 25. So how can I do it? If I say sqrt and then have num in this, and then if I run the program, I will get an error saying sqrt is not defined. This means that this is not defined in our program. Alright. Now, if I want to calculate the square root of this number, what should I do? I should import a module. Okay. So let me close this and delete this. When we installed Python, some of the modules got installed too. Okay. And to check what modules are installed and are available in our Python environment, we just have to type help and in brackets and in quotes modules. Okay. Now if I run this, it will list out all the available modules in our Python environment's path. Okay. This includes both standard library, meaning inbuilt library, and any installed third-party modules. Okay. Right now, I have not installed any third-party modules, and so all these were installed when we installed Python. Okay. Now here among these listed modules, we can see math, right? Let me show you how to import this module and do some calculations. Okay. Please remember that all these are already installed. Okay. But they are not readily available for us to use until we import it. Okay. So we need to import the module that we need and then we can work with it. So if I want to work with math module, I need to import math. If I need to work with token module, then I need to import token and so on. Alright. So let me close this now and show you how to import math module. Okay. To import math module, all you need to say is import math. Okay. Now we can use all the functions and the variables that are available in this module here in our program. Okay. If you need to import some other module, then you need to type in the name of that particular module. For example, if I want to import time module, then I need to say import time. Okay. So what we want to do is import math. Now the module is imported. Okay. Now if we want to check what are the available functions and constants inside this math module, then we can use the dir function. So I will say dir and inside I will say math. Okay. Now when I run this, it gives me a list of all the available functions inside this math module. Okay. And here you can see that we have sqrt function. All right. So let us use this now. I will close this and let me comment this. Okay. So here I will say num equal to 25 and then I will print sqrt and then pass number to it. Okay. Now when I run this, I get an error and I get the same error once again. sqrt is not defined. This is because if we want to use the sqrt function of this math module, then we need to specify the name of the module and then have a dot and then type in the name of the function that we need to use. Okay. Now when I run this, it gives me 5 as the output because 5 is the square root of 25. All right. So what are we doing here? We are accessing this function of this module and then we are sending num to the function. What is num? Num is the argument to this function. All right. Now if I remove this and if I type dot after math, and if you are using VS Code, it will list out all the available functions and constants in this module and we can use any. Okay. So you can see pi here. Pi is a constant. Okay. So if I want to print out the value of pi or if I want to use pi in my program, then I can use it. Okay. So this now is useless. So let me just print out math.py. Pi value is 3.1415 and so on. Okay. So this variable is defined inside this module and we are accessing the value like this. All right. Now let me comment this and uncomment this and run this once again. So you can see that this math module has many trigonometric and logarithmic functions. So if you ever need to do something related to mathematics, you can use the math module. Okay. Now let me use sine function. All right. I will say, or let me comment this out. I will uncomment this and I will say math.sine and let me pass 30. Okay. I am accessing the sine function of this module and then I am passing 30 to the sine function. Okay. When I run this, I get a value. All right. So this is how we can import a module and then work with it. Okay. So this math module is an inbuilt module. All right. There are a lot of inbuilt modules, and we can use the help function to list out the available inbuilt modules. Okay. But then there are also many other external modules which have to be installed separately. Okay. For example, you might have heard about Django, NumPy, Pandas, Matplotlib, OpenCV, TensorFlow, and a few others. All these are famous and all these are commonly used modules. To install these, we can use pip. Pip is Python's package installer. Okay. We won't be doing it in this video. Okay. So let us proceed with the inbuilt modules. I will delete this and I will delete this too. Alright. You see, we can rename this if we want. And to rename this, we need to use as. So here I will say import math as, let me say, coffee. Okay, just a random word. Now, if I define num equal to 25 and if I say math.sqrt and then pass num, and if I run this, I will get an error. This is because we have renamed math as coffee, and here I am using math, and this is why I am getting an error. So if I want to use sqrt function, then I need to use this name. Okay. When I run this, I get the output. Alright. So what developers normally do is they use a letter or any small word instead of the original name itself. Okay. So here I am importing math and then I am renaming it as m. So in our program we need to use m and then access its functions or constants. Okay. So when I run this, I will get an output. Alright. We commonly rename it if the name of a module is very lengthy. Okay. In this case, it is math and it is of only 4 letters, and so renaming this doesn't make any sense. Okay. Now, let us say that we are working on a project. And in our project, we have to calculate only the square root of a number. We don't want to calculate the sign of a number. We don't want to use the pi value. We don't want to calculate the tangent of a number and so on. We just want to calculate the square root. In that case, we can just import the square root function from the math module, and to do that we will have to say from math import square root sqrt. Okay, we are saying that we just want to import this function from this module. Okay, and when we import any particular function from a module, we don't have to use the name of the module and the dot. Okay. sqrt num is sufficient. So now when I run this, I get the output. Okay. We are importing only this function from this module. So if I want to calculate sign of this number, for example, we cannot do that because sign is not defined. Even though sign is available in this module, we have imported only this function and not this. Okay. Now, if I want only square root and sine functions, then I can have a comma here and I can say sine. Okay. Now, if I run this, I will get the output. Okay. So this is about modules. A module is used to improve functionality. Okay. It has extra codes that can be useful to us. Okay. Now, let me show you how we can create our own module. Okay. So here, let me say num1 is equal to 10 and num2 equal to 20. All right. Now, if I say print and add num1 and num2, and if I run this, I will get an error saying that add is not defined. You know that we need to define this function before we can call it and pass arguments to it, right? So what I will do is I will delete this and then I will create a new file here and I will call it calc, short for calculator. Okay, calc.py, the file extension. So this will be our custom module. All right, and here I will define the functions for basic calculations. Okay, so I will say def add and I will say num1 and num2, and inside this I will say return num1 plus num2. Okay, I will now copy this and paste it 3 more times and then change this to sub and mul and div. Okay, sub for subtraction, so here I will change it to minus. Mul for multiplication, I will change this to star, and div for division, and I will change this to division. All right, so here I have defined 4 functions to perform addition, subtraction, multiplication and division, and this is our calc module. Okay, I will save this and I will come back to this. Okay, there are 2 tabs here. One is my custom module and other is my main program. Okay, now that we have defined our custom module, we will have to import it in our program. So I will say import calc. Okay, calc is in the same folder as that of this file, and so if I type import calc, it is sufficient. Okay, now I want to perform some calculations using the functions in our calc module. Okay, so here I will say print and then I will call the add function and then pass num1 and num2. Okay, but then if I run this, I will get an error saying that add is not defined. This is because we are accessing this function of this module, right? And so we need to have the name of the module and then have dot. Okay, so now when I run this, I get 30 as the output. So number 10 will be passed for number 1, number 20 will be passed for number 2. And what we are doing is we are calling this function of this module. So what do we have here? We have this, correct? So num1 and num2 will be taken as parameters. Num1 plus num2 will be done and the value will be returned. And so when I run this, I get 30 as the output. Okay. I will change this to sub, meaning I want to access this function. When I run this, I get minus 10 as the output. I will change this to multiplication and I will run this. I get 200 as the output and I will change this to div and I will run this to get 0.5 and I will change this to POW and run this to get an error. This is because our calc module doesn't have a POW function. Alright. So this is how we can create our own module. Okay. We can put any functions, variables or classes that we want into a .py file and then import that file as a module in other Python scripts. Okay. Yes. So this is it for this video. As you progress and explore more advanced Python topics, you will find yourself using both standard library modules and external third-party modules extensively to leverage the vast functionality available in the Python ecosystem. Alright,